Good Thursday, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center looking at our temperatures across the region. Right now, you do see already getting down toward the mid 50s, but not as much of a temperature depart from those afternoon highs, maybe, or getting at least as low as what we've seen here the last few nights. Expecting maybe some mid upper 40s around. Some spots maybe a little cooler than that. I know we're already down to 51 where I'm at here, just east of Stark, but you kind of get the idea here. Temperature's not getting down to maybe 37 like what we saw here this morning east of Stark. So again, giving you guys an idea of how those temperature trends do look. It's pretty nice out there overall. I mean, you might need that light jacket, but I know as I was looking outside just a little while ago, looking off toward the east, you could see that rocket launch there from the Cape Canaveral area, SpaceX there going on up, unmanned mission this time, but just interesting to always be able to see that here from certain spots in the region, especially when we have those better sky conditions around. So we'll go ahead and look at some of those sky conditions right now here on this Thursday. I know you guys are looking forward to that weekend. A lot of things going on here. College football, of course, championship weekend here in the different conferences. And then we also have a story here also talking about that weather for that big race there as we're looking down toward the Keystone Airport area. Pretty exciting, I know. Something that we don't really have around here, something to talk about like this in Bradford County, but we're going to have the Nitro Rallycross race here this Saturday, this Sunday, and a NASCAR star is going to be in town for that. So we'll get to that here in just a moment. But first off, again, the sky conditions here are important. So let's go ahead and pop on up some of the different viewpoints here from across the area. You can see the baseball grounds in Jacksonville to begin. You can see here what is happening right now as we take a look outside toward Jacksonville again. You see that city all lit up here at night, and just a pretty nice evening. Again, in December, we're going to be on that warming trend, which we'll see here in a moment. We kind of felt like Christmas around Thanksgiving, and now we're starting to feel maybe more like spring here as we look ahead. So definitely interesting to see here as we look ahead in the timeline. We'll now move away from the Jacksonville camera, take you on over toward my alma mater, Florida State University in Tallahassee, where I know big football game took place for that team here last week in Gainesville. And I know, speaking of football, didn't quite get the win there. They did beat the Hurricanes, though, a few weeks ago, and hurricane season, ironically, now has concluded. But as we do talk, basketball will be in town on Saturday. The first game in ACC play is the Noles take on Syracuse. Jim Boeheim, a couple of his sons, a real good team there, relatively looking back last year at least. They made the Sweet 16. I know this year they've struggled some. The Noles have struggled as well, losing pretty badly against Purdue there on Tuesday night. So again, just kind of keeping an eye on that. I know the Gators, their basketball team, had been previously undefeated, but they lost last night in Norman against the Sooners. So interesting to keep an eye on some of those different sporting events. But they'll be having that game in Tallahassee at the Down on Tucker Civic Center at 4 o'clock. So that game on the ACC Network. But if you're headed to that, the weather's going to be really nice for this time of year and compared to what we've been seeing here recently. So giving you guys that perspective, we'll now go ahead and take you on over toward the Cedar Key camera now in Levy County. I know you guys looking toward the Gulf Coast want to kind of get a view of what's going on right now, and it's always interesting to look at this. I mean, it'll be a little getaway for the weekend. Again, the weather will be really nice for this. It'll be really nice for this. So something to look forward to as you're headed out and about here this weekend, as you're headed down there, maybe going from Stark through Gainesville down there toward Levy County. Definitely something to really enjoy here, as you can't ask for much better weather this time of year. But we have to watch out for fog potential. I do need to preface that. We talk about how the weather's going to be so nice here, but we do have to talk about that fog potential, and I have some fog safety tips for you guys to kind of get a grasp on here. I haven't had this graphic in a show before, but we're going to pop it up in just a moment because I think it's really important, because this could be a pretty dangerous situation as we are headed toward the nighttime hours. So besides the foggy and things look nice, but that fog threat will be potentially problematic, as a dense fog advisory likely will be in play here as we're looking ahead for the next few nights at least for parts of our area. If not that, still going to be hazardous driving conditions at times due to low visibility. Just remember to slow down and give yourself some extra time here to reach your destination in these situations. Make sure your vehicle is as visible as possible as other vehicles around will want to be able to see you. Obviously, use those low beam headlights and then leave plenty of room between you and the vehicle in front of you, because again, fog is definitely a threat out there. Just be very cognizant of what's going on. Be very careful, because you can have accidents that are deadly in nature because of that fog. Dangerous weather hazard. I mean, when it's raining, you have to slow down. When it's foggy, you need to slow down here as well. So be aware of that. Going to be watching some dangerous driving conditions at times, at least, as we look here toward our graphic with these names. A little lighter note, you do see all of them crossed off here, folks. Great news. That Atlantic hurricane season has ended, folks. That's something you really want to see. Everything, I mean, crossed off, not necessarily because we're talking about a situation where we could have not had to go through all these names or use the alternative name list, but somehow we ended up fitting the names in this perfectly without having to go to the next name list. So we did have a terrible season, though, for some parts of the country. Again, I do need a preface with that, but luckily in our neck of the woods, we stayed relatively lucky. I mean, we had Elsa, of course. That was the biggest impact this year, but then Fred off toward the west, that was a storyline as well. And of course, Ida, the defining storm of the season, the catastrophic damage toward Louisiana, and then going up toward the northeast. And now I kind of promised a lighter note, but we still have to talk about some terrible consequences that did come from the hurricane season. But again, getting lucky, but always maybe think about next year. Maybe we don't get lucky next year. You never know. But this season we got lucky again here locally, relatively. Again, also with the tornadoes toward Jacksonville, toward Camden County. But overall, things could have been a lot worse, as we saw off toward the west in Louisiana. In the next 7 days or so, with the rainfall forecast, you can see toward northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, northern Georgia, and Tennessee, and even part of Kentucky, Arkansas, Louisiana, going to have quite a bit of rain here. So some flash flooding potential, not out of the question, but some of these areas kind of need that rain here. I know we've had fire potential toward North Carolina here recently. Just kind of depends on how fast that rain does fall, but you can always go to cloudweather.com/radar for an interactive look at things when we're not on the air, kind of get an idea of what is going on here with the weather situation. You can kind of figure out how storms are moving, how things are developing, as we'll have to watch for some stronger storms here off toward the west. In general, as we look ahead, no formal storm prediction center outlooks out there at this point, but that could change. So stay abreast. If there's anything that's a national storyline in terms of severe weather, we'll let you know. Maybe something developing toward parts of the Gulf Coast region. We'll just monitor the situation, maybe even somewhere in the southeast. But our area going to be on the periphery of things. Maybe some of our southwest Georgia or Big Bend counties could get a strong to severe storm over the next week at some point with one of these areas here that we'll be watching in that forecasting and within those forecasting models. But just kind of stay tuned. We'll monitor it for you. But now, as we always, of course, cover all these different counties in our region, the reason I do have Pierce County boxed in there is because that's one of our counties that we cover in terms of just all these different storylines, including college football. The SEC champions sit there on Saturday, not in Pierce County, but the reason I mention that is because, of course, the starting quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs, Stetson Bennett, from Blackshear, Georgia. So some of you guys might be watching up there and you want to know about that game. Maybe headed up toward Atlanta there. Used to be in the Georgia Dome. Now that Mercedes-Benz Stadium there, the roof may be open. Checking on that. It seems like the weather conditions could be pretty optimal for that. But we'll wait and see. Haven't heard that determination there as of yet. But you see around 70 at kickoff, cooling down maybe toward the upper 50s by the end of the game. Chance is very, very low. And I do have, in terms of a score prediction, Georgia winning this game 30-13 against the Crimson Tide. I just think that defense for Georgia, enough offense there against Alabama, who had an offense that really struggled in the Iron Bowl last weekend. It's just not going to be enough. They're not going to have enough firepower here to go against Georgia. I think they'll keep it close for a while. Nick Saban, a legend in the game, he's never lost to Kirby Smart. Had his first loss earlier this year against a former assistant, though, and former FSU and current Texas A&M coach Jimbo Fisher. But just a game here that we'll be monitoring, of course, because all of our Georgia viewers have so many interests. I mean, our Georgia counties, most of them there, really part of Bulldog country. So again, just kind of keeping an eye on that. And I know I'm a Seminole, but we'll kind of be rooting on the Bulldogs here as we watch to see maybe some more Georgia counties. Pretty happy by the time we get in next week. Their team's going to be in the playoff pretty much regardless. Algorithms there determining that have a 99% chance of that happening. So Georgia still be in the playoffs there as we look ahead in the timeline. But the other three teams, could Alabama get in? If they win, of course they would be in. If they lose, well, you never know what could happen. They might still slip in if the margin of the game is close enough. But then other teams in play are Michigan, Cincinnati. Of course, we have teams there like Notre Dame and Oklahoma State as well. And even Ohio State, they did lose to Michigan, and it would be pretty unlikely for them to get in. But if crazy things happen, you just never know. Ole Miss number 8 there, I believe. Baylor number 9. So we'll watch to see how the rankings do go and how things shuffle around. Those top 4, of course, be important, and we'll be monitoring things with those playoff games and then the championship game later on in the timeline. But now as we get toward that planning forecast, I do want to emphasize the dense fog is expected at times, so use extra caution here. High school football playoffs, be very careful as you're headed maybe home from one of those. Friday night, Saturday morning, we'll be having that fog around. You really need to be careful with that because we have seen accidents that have been deadly. So we really need to be very cognizant because some of the models are really keeping that fog locked in. I mean, the Tallahassee office was even talking about how some model guidance is trying to steer that fog hanging around Albany all day tomorrow, which would be pretty bizarre, hopefully. And right now they don't think that's going to be the case, but we'll continue to monitor that. It looks like it's probably more of a nighttime thing, but and morning thing, obviously, as you're headed up and out, maybe for work tomorrow, and then on the weekend, maybe headed toward Keystone area there at Keystone Airport in Bradford County. Technically, they're calling it Stark, but that's toward where that Nitro race there will be, Nitro Rallycross. Going to be a pretty unusual thing because NASCAR superstars Chase Elliott, he's going to be in that. I mean, I don't follow NASCAR too much, but I know that name obviously. Going to be here visiting Bradford County to race in his first type of race similar to that, really, because it's a different type of racing than NASCAR. Definitely interesting to see. I know we don't have too many big visitors like that here to Bradford County. Tim Tebow in middle school visiting comes to mind, but this guy actually be racing there this weekend, so that's a pretty big storyline. A lot of people be headed out there, and the weather does look nice for that here. Only a 10% chance of rain. I mean, I put that in there just to earn a side of caution. Saturday is going to be nice, I think. Sunday, that 10% may hold true just a little bit more here, but still, it was close to not putting anything there for Saturday in terms of any rain chances, as there will be a little bit of cloud cover around, but overall, for this time of year, you see above average in the daytime every day of the next 7. That's good to see. Monday or Wednesday, that's when we could have some storms trying to get in the area, but they're expected to be weakening on out at this point as they enter our western and northwestern counties, like what you saw on that graphic a moment ago. But any of those counties that we showed you, of course, will be on the air to protect you, your friends, and your family as conditions warn. It's all about doing that here at Cloud Weather. Very committed to doing that. If there's a tornado warning in any one of those 62 counties, as I go ahead and back this up real quick, we'll see this very quickly. You see up toward Quitman County, Clay County, and towards Randolph, or all the way down to Marion or Flagler. But if we had storms to develop here that were severe in nature, probably in those western counties. As again, if you're wondering in Pierce County why I have you guys boxed in, it's because that star quarterback there just a walk on at one point, but now Roy rising to the top of college football and one of, if not the best team in college football, trying to take on Alabama. He's not running the Heisman running because he's not doing much for his team as maybe the quarterback for Alabama there, but still, you just have to kind of bear that in mind here, that that's going to be a big game as we look back at our local area now as we head toward that weekend. 55 toward Keystone, 56 toward Gainesville, 61 in Tallahassee, 62 in Albany. You see these temperatures here. You definitely see these different readings across the area, and things do look pretty tame, pretty nice. there are some thunderstorms here as we look up toward the northeast. I thought this was kind of interesting. Toward New York, you see temperatures in the 40s, but we have some lightning showing up toward Albany, New York. You see some small hail reported earlier there as we get over toward some of these different communities there. Around Oneida there, train spotter reporting a little bit of hail. This is south of Cooperstown there, so definitely interesting to see that as you think about baseball there. But I know they're in that lockout now. As we look back and zoom on out just a little bit, you see this line here as you're able to see our different wind directs and arrows, kind of get an idea how things do change behind this. As you look there, the winds switching directions here as you get those winds coming from the north and west behind this. We're not going to see too much of a cool down toward our area though. As we look ahead, as we already showed you here in that extended outlook, just stay safe out there this weekend. Again, going to be quite a bit of traffic around as you're headed on maybe State Road 100 toward that Nitro Rallycross event. That's a new type of event, and a lot of people are going to be coming into town for that. As the weather does again look pretty nice, but fog could be a very big danger if things don't cooperate in terms of timing there. Maybe headed out early in the morning to that. If the event gets on, you should be all right. But again, just got to be really careful here because that can be problematic sometimes. Accidents can happen on that road, and combining that with fog could be really dangerous. So stay aware of that fog danger. I think we're going to leave you with those fog safety tips here one more time because I just don't want us to have accidents on Monday and you guys not know why or what really happened or what to do in these type of situations. We definitely could have this potential. So remember, again, hazardous driving conditions are possible due to some low visibility around. Slow down and give yourself extra time to reach your destination here over the next few nights. Tonight, Thursday night, tomorrow night, Friday night, Saturday night as well. Make sure your vehicle is as visible as possible to other vehicles by using your low beam headlights and leave plenty of room in between you and the vehicle that is in front. So thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great weekend and stay safe out there.